It's a very good read. It's very nice. It kind of gets a little romantic, and it's nice. I don't do well with romance. I'm not a good romance writer. I read a lot of romance books, so luckily I had a lot of stuff. Don't smoke. I had a lot of stuff to fall back on. But I'm not very good with romance stuff, right? I like horror. I like the stuff that really makes you disturbed. You're just like, oh, I don't want to read it, but I do. That's me, right? I take Stephen King and I just push it into a level he didn't want to go, right? So that's where I am. But this whole scene, it gets very romantic, very nice scene, and you can probably tell I'm reading through this situation as I'm speaking, trying to get to different parts. She created a rival, kind of. This interaction, this romance between the two of them builds, and they kind of keep interacting with each other. They keep getting to know each other. Maddox is not exclusive with her character yet, and she confronts him about that. So that kind of takes everything onto a head of its own, which was kind of cool. Where she's just like, hey, I'm not just one of your floozies. If this is going to happen, it needs to happen correctly, monogamously. One-on-one. No doing all this stuff with all these other girls. And he agreed, surprisingly, but why wouldn't he? I mean, her character is an attractive young freshman student that is smart, naive, and innocent. So, why wouldn't he agree? I mean, anybody kind of would. Her character kind of encompasses most values, I think, that people are looking for in a woman, and she kind of encompasses, this particular character encompasses all of those. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some of you guys out there that prefer a strong woman with a strong sense of will, who has no problem smacking you upside the head and dragging you out of a bar by your ear. There are other guys out there, like myself, that prefer a more submissive woman who kind of accepts things as they are, goes with the flow, and is old-fashioned, you might say. And she definitely falls into those categories. I have never written a story with a character quite like the co-author's character. Bear in mind, I did not ask the co-author to create this character, right? Even though it seems really customized to a lot of my preferences, I had nothing to do with it. I've role-played with a lot of people and a lot of different characters, and I like them all. I really do. But we all of us, no matter who we are, as an author, whatever, we all have one character that we just, dang, that's a very cool character kind of thing, and the co-author definitely created that character, and I never know what this character is going to do. It's been a lot of fun to just kind of expand on and see how things are going to unfold. She creates a love rival, sort of, named Corey, and he is a genuinely good person. He's that guy in college that some of those love stories develop from, right? I met my husband in college, we did really well together, and once we found each other, we knew it was meant to be, and we just kind of stayed together. He's that guy. He's a really nice, generally accepting person that doesn't pressure her character or push her character. And Maddox does not know that this infatuation is building with this guy. And from what I can tell, I do not believe her character is overly aware of this guy's intentions either. I think she just might think he's a very nice person, character-wise. But as an author, it's pretty obvious that this guy has deeper feelings than he's letting on. So, we keep going. Let's see what happens next, right? Sorry, I didn't really plan for this overview today. I just wanted to get it out there because I haven't done one in a while. Okay, so as time progresses, the relationship, I kind of already touched base on this, but it's kind of it's really starting to form now, right? More time has passed. Their interactions are becoming more common, and of course now she's at the point where she's like, you know, it's me or it's no one, that's it. And you know, you can kind of see this budding romance begin to build. So one of the things that was holding him off was his lifestyle. I had mentioned earlier, and I give warning again, this is fictional. It is a little disturbing for some people. If you're one of those people, stop listening. His lifestyle is BDSM, and I didn't want to do my normal BDSM kind of content, right? I wanted this to be different. And there are different styles of this lifestyle, BDSM. There are very different styles, as many as there are people. And you know, you have master slave, you have hard, you have soft, you have gentle, you have S&M, you have all kinds of different versions of this. And I wanted him to be a soft dom. But as a author, this was a topic I did not know much about. I am quite familiar with BDSM, but I am not familiar with the soft dom aspect of BDSM. And so I needed to learn about it. What is different between a dom, a soft dom, a hard dom, a master-slave relationship, etc., etc. What are the differences? And I did a lot of research on this because it is a topic that is so diversified. And of course, consent. You know, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, definitely do the research. It's out there. Find credible sources. This is a fictional story, so it is not going to be it isn't going to be correct. It isn't going to be what you're looking for. It's not a guide, so don't use it as one. But I found this stuff out, and so he's kind of introducing her character into BDSM. Now, as most of you probably know, this is a pretty taboo topic. People they don't want to talk about this kind of stuff, right? I mean, maybe they had a 50 Shades of Grey fantasy going on at some point in their life, but it's still a sexual topic. People don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? It's just not something that they they want flying around there out in the open. But I told you before at the beginning of this that I wanted a very easy reference set up for things that could be lost or forgotten. The reason this is funny is because where I write, there's only a very small section that is designed for adult content. Anything else needs to be above board, right? No adult content of certain qualities go in certain areas, and the majority of the place that I write is non-sexual, non-adult content. They're very good about this. That way everybody can feel welcome. Nobody has to feel pressured into writing a particular style. And everybody is free to express themselves comfortably and safely. If somebody's going into the sections that I write, then they know what they're looking for, especially me, because I go into the darkest of those sections, and that's where my stories take place. So, you know, if somebody goes there, then they know what they're expecting. But my reference guide, the reason I brought all this up, my reference guide is in a section that does not allow this kind of content, right? So how was I effectively going to create a reference and description of what these two characters were teaching, what this character was teaching, what this style represented, and what this stuff was? How was I going to create a section like that and not make it adult? It was a pain in the butt. I'll tell you right now, it's hard, because I don't want to, you know, I can't use profanity. I can't use sexual depictions to describe what it is I'm trying to do. So it's all about phrasing and appropriation of a topic without becoming obscene. So I go ahead and I write the contracts. I write a basic description of what BDSM is to that style that he follows, that's soft, which is, it is different. So I write a big section on what it is and how it's different. I write a section on what a contract is, and how that contract works. And then I kind of get into the details of equipment: riding crops, paddles, floggers, canes, and there's so much more. Trust me, it would take forever to go through these things, but I needed to get the basics out of the way, right? The everybody knows these items, kind of items, out of the way. And it took a minute. I'm not gonna lie, it took a minute to write this stuff, because again, it has to be above board. I had one of the admins on the in the area that I write double check my work. That's how nervous I was about this. I didn't want to create something that people are reading down and they're just like, oh, you know, this stuff should be in a certain point in the forums, this stuff should, you know, this stuff should be over here, and it shouldn't be here, right? I didn't want that kind of reaction. So, don't smoke. So I took some time to make this appropriate. Then we get into positions. There are a lot of positions, a whole lot of positions, and I go through a few of them here: kneeling, nadu, humble, collar or leash, inspection, wall brace, service. I went through a few of these, and I wanted to give examples of what these positions looked like. And I will tell you now, try to find an image of BDSM that is not explicit, right? It's almost impossible. I'm telling you, this stuff took forever. So I went through and I got all that stuff written out and described. Then there are rules. And this is, a lot of people believe that BDSM is completely sexual in its orientation. That isn't true. There are some individuals that can live their life with BDSM in their life and never experience the sexual side of this lifestyle. Rules are a big part, and when I created these rules using the soft dom concept, I wanted to make sure that they never changed. They never got forgotten, and they were easy to reference. Because nothing is worse than your 50 Shades of Grey nonsense where they tell you one thing and they do another one, right? Right? If you tell somebody, this is your safe word, this is your safe gesture, and they use it and you ignore it, what the hell? You know what I mean? So, if you tell somebody to call you sir instead of master, because you don't have that kind of BDSM relationship, it's not a master-slave, it's a dom-sub, so if you tell them to refer to you as sir, and they do it, and you punish them because they did so, and then tell them that they should call you master, not only does this mess up the flow of the story, not only is it irritating, right, but it's just stupid, because you cannot expect somebody to follow these kinds of rules and then change them. That doesn't make any sense to anybody. If they want to break the rules, they totally should, but they should not be forced to break these rules. And that is a big thing. So I wanted a section that just covered the rules that the character was learning. There's a couple of reasons for this. First off, this is fictional. It is not real. And there is only so much that an author should have to be forced to intake, right? They, as an individual, are not wanting to learn this kinds of stuff. It's, you know, it's not part of their life, you know, and if you're forcing them to learn it, and then you're punishing the character because the author forgot, that's messed up, because it's not real, right? You're not, it's fictional, it's not real life. So the rules section was created for a very quick reference on what have I learned, what does this character know, and what are these rules. And some of those rules so far are safe words, safe gestures, right? Because if they're unable to speak, they should have movement of their hand. If they're unable to move their hands, they should be able to speak. You should never take away that, both of these options. The next is he wants to be referred to as sir. That is his title. The next, and that also feeds into Maddox's arrogance. He doesn't want students to call him professor or prof or mister. Everybody he meets, he tells them, call me sir. You know, refer to me as sir. Sir is his title. And he's very adamant about trying to get as many people as he can to refer to him this way. It's just part of his arrogance. No negative or self-degrading talk is the next rule here. And that was pretty much where, you know, the submissive is an important person in the dom's life. He chose the submissive, so speaking negatively about themselves or insulting themselves is also insulting their dom and belittling his choice that he made. Next one was never be ashamed, right? This was just kind of a you know, if the submissive has a kink or an interest or enjoys something or likes something, you know, don't be afraid to express it. Don't be ashamed that nobody in this relationship dynamic and in the privacy of their home is going to judge them, right? So that was one of the rules. And then clothing is another rule where they come in, they strip down to everything but their undergarments, and you know, that's how they have to be in the home, which is odd but pretty standard rule. I then get into collars, the type of collars. There's training collars, permanent collars, bondage collars, and that's kind of the section that I have built so far regarding this this lifestyle. This is not a guide, and it should not be used as one. It lacks information. It is not correct information. It is not safely. I try to make it as realistic as possible, but it is not a guide. It is not an instruction manual. there are guides, there are instruction manuals, there are professionals that understand and know how to describe this stuff. I don't. So I'm just kind of running with things off the top of my head and giving it the most realistic and believable inception of that as I can. So, getting back to the story, her character is introduced to this lifestyle for the first time. Very 50 Shades of Grey kind of style. It's very interesting, their interactions with one another. Her character learned about the riding crop and the tress, which is the leather flap at the end of the crop. Her character learned about that, and I tried to make this as knowledgeable as I could without creating an environment where it feels more like a school or where it feels more boring than anything else. So I tried to encompass all of that into this scene, which is, a scene is something that you refer to when you're talking about the interactions of a dom and a submissive, or a master and a slave, and the interactions they are having in a room where they're going to be doing these things. Bondage has not taken place at this time. Then they go to a restaurant. They went to Adishi Pahak, which is a underwater tunneled aquarium restaurant in Vietnam, I believe. And so they go there. Very cool stuff. Lots of romance, stuff like that. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to speed through a lot of this, because a lot of it is just familiarizing yourself with the story, going to class, coming home, dealing with the different emotions of your roommate and your friends and stuff like that. The next real big event I think that happened will probably be the last thing I speak about. Well, no, there was another incident that happened first, which was He Chow, one of the third-year students. I believe she's a third year. She could be a fourth. I'd have to double check. This student had a fixation or a fascination with Maddox, and he ended all of his behavior, all of his inappropriate behavior with students. He stopped it. No more special assignments, no more special classes, no more extra credit, no more assistance with your grades, with your learning curves, none of that. It's just him and the co-author's character in a full-time relationship now. This caused all kinds of drama. It caused him to have to go down to the admin building to speak with the dean. It caused all kinds of issues. One of the students actually felt drawn to him, that they had a relationship that he was not aware of. She had this whole concept in her head that they had actually had a relationship, and she accepted that he was with other people and stuff like that. When he rejected her openly and put an end to that, she went after the co-author's character and pretty much like assaulted her, just beat her up and yelled at her and treated her bad. Got really, really heated. So the next thing that happens is the, right, one sec, let me find it. Because I don't want to I want to make sure that I get this right. Yeah. So the next thing that happens is they get some time has passed now, like a month or so, maybe more. Their relationship has been cemented. The co-author's character is dealing with a lot of judgment, a lot of ridicule, a lot of rumors, because she is with a professor. And there's just a lot of crap happening to the co-author's character from students. And that's pretty common. It's pretty normal. If you remember earlier in this video, I told you about a character, a gothic kid that was being picked on. I hinted at him a few more times during the story, but it really starts to pick up here. He summons a demon that ends up causing havoc. Now, demons are different than summoning like an animal or summoning like a fey creature or something like that. In order to summon a demon, you can't do it by accident. You have to create a sacrifice. You have to create a set of unique parameters for this demon to be summoned, and there has to be malice and foul intent inside your heart in order for you to accomplish this. And so this student did so. The demon attacked the student because he botched the spell and couldn't contain it. It killed him. It killed another student that was in the dorms. More students ran to help. It killed more students and escaped. Some qualities about this demon was that it was shape-shifting. It had several shapes, and you know, I thought it was being tricky. I'm not super familiar with fictional demons. I have done some research when I did a angel story. I did some research on real religious text and real demons, but this is not that. So I wanted a fictional demon. So I used D&D for a reference on some ideas, and I found one that I thought was really unique. I had never heard of it before, and unfortunately the co-author right away knew exactly which one it was. So hardcore D&D player, props to you. He ends up taking the co-author's character to this meeting that the staff is having to explain there's an emergency situation on the campus, there's dead students, there's, you know, everybody's in lockdown, we've got security on the field, we need everybody on deck, we need everybody to start looking for this thing, to help get this thing. They explain the situation, and when I did this explanation, I tried to make it sound as professional and as realistic as possible. And so that was kind of cool. One of the things that I hate the most about our culture today is you cannot say the word tentacles, see, I bet you did it right now, without somebody immediately jumping to some kind of fetish or kink regarding them. And so this is a very unfortunate situation because I don't do that kind of stuff, that fetishy, kinky tentacle. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I don't find anything about it entertaining at all. So I wouldn't write about it, not because I don't think it's horrific, because I don't understand it. I don't get the appeal for it. So this demon had tentacles, and I knew right away as soon as I wrote down, and remember, it's a D&D demon. It's not something I came up with, but I knew the moment I wrote down tentacles, shit was going to hit the fan. So I had to add a damn disclaimer in there saying that this is not what these tentacles are for. They're just limbs. You know what I mean? They're not anything else. It's just that our society today, man, anime has really just damaged our frame of mind and warped our little brains. So he takes her there. They do the meeting, and he leaves because he notices how upset her character is getting. So he leaves, secures her in his staff housing, wards the door, makes sure she's safe, goes out hunting for this demon. him and Professor Gettings encounter this demon and fight it, and they lose badly. To Maddox's credit, he did put up a valiant effort. It did look really badass. I tried really hard to write that scene so that the graphic description of a battle between himself with magic and a demon sounded and was fun and cool. Don't smoke. So it was a really fun environment. It was a really fun experience. Writing combat is almost as difficult as writing erotica. It's a very hard thing to do. You have breathing, hand movements, control, positioning, arms, other people, you know, actions, emotions. It's just this collage of all these things you have to keep track of all at once if you want that combat to sound even remotely realistic. And so, yeah, it's hard to write a combat scene. And just like erotica, I mean, I've read some erotica where it's just so poorly written, and then you read some that's just like, wow, you know. So it's a very, those are by far the two hardest things I've ever had to write, is erotica and combat. They're very similar, and they're very difficult to write. And because I don't write to excite myself, I write for the technical aspects of things. I'm always trying to find words and stuff, which just makes it that much freaking harder. So, this demon was called a Yoklolo, or Yokola, or something like that. It's a demon that is one of Loth's, the goddess of the drow. It's one of her demons. It turns into a slimy tentacle creature, a spider, a human or drow-looking character, and gas is its forms. And in the spider form, it really gets the advantage over Maddox, and he gets hurt, and then the mage tower shows up. Maddox gets taken to the hospital, and the situation kind of becomes more horrific from there. Don't smoke. So, the first thing is Maddox is being fed a line of crap. For some reason, they've moved him into a secure ward. They're keeping him under lock and key, and this whole plot starts to develop. Now, when I originally wrote this plot, I didn't have a detailed plot. I kind of wanted the co-author and me to work together and kind of create, why would they be holding him in a secure ward of the hospital and classifying anything that had to do with this demon and not releasing Maddox? Why would that be the case? Unfortunately, the co-author didn't really grasp that. I didn't present it in such a way that they grasped that this was kind of an open-ended, we could do whatever we wanted kind of thing. So I ended up adding a plot to it. Another situation that happened here was Gettings came to the co-author's character and informed her that Maddox had been wounded and that he could not share information with her, that it was all classified, and she would have to return to the dorms and pretty much forget all about this, or there was a risk that she could be mind wiped. And then he started to leave, and she kind of begged him for more information, wanted more information, and being a twisted bastard like I am, he blackmailed her into favors, sexually oriented favors, in order to get that information. Now, this didn't go into the full-on, assault, but it was pretty bad all the same. Then he gives her the rest of the information, along with some blackmail. If you want to see him, I could take you to see him, but you'll have to agree to do these things in the future, which she declined, which was good on her, right? Don't let yourself be put in that kind of situation. So the situation develops. She sneaks into Maddox's room to try and find out what's happening. While she's still going to school, they've got a substitute that is really bad, trying to teach Maddox's class, and she is trying to figure out what's going on with Maddox. And eventually, she sneaks in, and he gets her to help. Maddox gets her to help, as Maddox has stated that something strange is going on. He stopped taking his medication because it was causing bruises on his skin. He cannot escape. There's anti-magic fields all around the area. He is being held against his will, and he needs her help to get out. Nice thriller kind of moment. And so she starts doing that. She starts investigating things and trying to find out things from the outside, while he does the same on the inside. And this was a really interesting part of the story because of all the tricks and spy tactics the two of them were using to sneak around and figure this stuff out. It was kind of fun. Eventually, and unfortunately, she returns to Gettings for help after she spoke to Henderson, which is another professor. Jenny Henderson, a professor, not a real person. If that mimics your name, apologies, it is coincidence, not intentional. This professor is one of those older women that still behave like they're very young. That's this type of professor. And so she has this kind of desire to become friends with the youth, especially the co-author's character, because the co-author's character is dating Professor Maddox. Henderson did have some lingering attraction to Professor Maddox, and so there's this friendship that she's sort of forcing on the co-author's character, and it comes off very awkward, which is good because that's how I wanted it to come off. It's very funny, it's very fun to read about, but basically the co-author tries to get information from this professor, and the information isn't all that useful, and it turns out most of it was hearsay or rumor because the professor is such a gossip girl, and it didn't really help. So the co-author decides to have their character start investigating Gettings. And I kind of don't know what the co-author's goal was here. I kind of think they were going to blackmail or threaten the professor, but they got the plot wrong. I don't know if the author got it wrong on purpose or if they just didn't get it. But there was a plot. There were hints and indications of what was going on. And unfortunately, the co-author got this wrong. And so she confronts the professor. He's very nervous because she says she knows the truth about things. And when she presents her case, she's wrong. So he takes advantage of this situation, and she starts to find out more about the truth of the situation, which is Gettings is, according to him, which could be true or a lie, not really involved in this situation surrounding Maddox. The Mage Tower is, and they are trying to encourage any side effects that this demon's bite might have had on him. They're also trying to investigate him for completely unrelated matters. Time travel, life energy regeneration, which is a crime. They believe that Maddox has done these things. There's evidence that he was alive in the 1920s and earlier, And so they're doing this whole investigation. It really doesn't have a lot to do with Gettings, according to him. And so she was really quite wrong on that aspect. But the way Gettings presents himself when they're speaking is so arrogant and so, it's just so messed up, right? He just has that really shitty attitude that you just want to reach out and punch him because he's just such a bastard. But he's not a sexual bastard. He's not putting her in a position where he's making her uncomfortable in that way. Even though he had done stuff, inappropriate stuff prior, which only made his whole attitude worse. He eventually agrees that he will help get the co-author set up, and he will also free Maddox to the best of his ability, and if he cannot free Maddox, he will drive attention to this situation, and they will be forced to let Maddox go. In return, she has to perform these acts with him for the next 6 months, once a month or so. It won't include intercourse, but does include a few other things. And she has to keep it private and stuff like that. In addition to this, she can't talk about it to anybody, and she can't let anybody know he was involved. If she agrees to these terms, Gettings is willing to use his influence to get Maddox out of the situation he is in. She's really backed into a corner. That was the goal, dilemma-wise. What would you not do, you know, to save your loved one, to save your spouse? Imagine if your spouse, your lover, your child, someone of a great importance to you was taken and being held against their will, and then an individual presents themselves and states, if you do this, I will have them back home to you tonight, right? That individual may not be directly related to what's happening to them. They may be directly related, but what would you not do in order to save this person you love? That was the moral conundrum I tried to place the co-author in, and I think it worked out really well. This wasn't a way to exploit the co-author into writing erotic scenes with another character. That wasn't the goal. The goal was about the modern conundrum and situation and the moral implications of what they were dealing with. I wanted this choice to be very tense and very like, you know, would you do it, right? Would you do it? You know, what if your husband or somebody was overseas and they couldn't come home, right? And you knew it. You knew they couldn't come home. They were stuck somewhere. And then all of a sudden this person shows up and says, well, if you do this, I'll bring them home tomorrow. Would you do it? That was the kind of horrible, horrific situation I tried to create. And I think it came off pretty damn well. So that is going to conclude my overview of A Magical World. And I will do another one of these later. This has been quite long. As I said, the format is going to change. So it won't be broken up into 10-minute videos. It'll be longer. But yeah, that's kind of my overview. It was just an overview. If you are interested in this story, please leave comments below. You do not need to like this video. You do not need to subscribe. I don't make these videos for money. I don't make these videos for views. I make them for a record. I make them because they are fun, and I make them because this is a hobby. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed the story. If you're interested and you're part of the community that I write with, feel free to read it. It is very good, much better than my overview gave credit for. If you would like to know more about this story or actually have a chance to read it yourself, please let us know. Let me know. I will share your remarks with the co-author, and we can see what will go from there. I've had some people actually request that I create a book with one of my other stories and just kind of mesh the two written aspects into one condensed version and sell it as a book. They are really wanting to read it, and you know, I don't know if it would read very well. It's not written in a book-like format. There are multiple authors writing about multiple characters, so you would have you would have my perspective for this character and NPCs and world building, and then you would have another author with their character, their perspective, their NPCs, their world building, and you would mesh them together every other couple of pages. So I don't know how well that would read for a book, but it is definitely something that I would love to hear your feedback on. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this this overview. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now, and we all need a place to just kind of, you know, vent and let out our imaginations. And I like writing dark stuff. I like writing disturbing stuff, but it is just fake. So never take this stuff too seriously. If this stuff is happening or it is triggering to you, don't read it. Get help. Seek help. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thanks for watching. Bye.